afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back from lunch. On your start of the afternoon presentations, we've had a great morning. I've listened to some wonderful presentations from great speakers, seen some wonderful slides, I think all better than mine. So I thought I'd be the guy that stood out by wearing the funny garb. But there is actually a bit of a reason to it. It's great to be here this afternoon and to introduce Loloata Island Resort. Loloata Island Resort is a joint venture, or the redevelopment of Loloata Island Resort is a joint venture between NAS Fund and Lamana Development. Now, Lamana Development is both the investor and also the building contractor, and that's really the reason for the the high-vis vest to cover both of those, although I'm on the hotel side and I know very little, if anything, of construction. But onward. Loloata Island Resort. What have we got next? Where do I point this? Ah, there you go. This fellow actually is probably known to a lot of people here. And he does know a bit about construction, and he does know a lot about hotels. Costas has involvement in a range of hotels, spreading back probably 35 years, both in PNG and across the Pacific. Just by way of credibility, as we're leading up to Loloata and that presentation, I'll just briefly go through a couple of the hotels that Costas is involved with, just so you can see the development that has been happening over those years. In Solomon Islands and Honiara, we have Heritage Park Hotel. It's coming up to about 10 years since that one was opened. It's a very nice complex, and it's, for anybody that saw me speak a year ago, #1 on TripAdvisor. In Fiji, Grand Pacific was reborn, and it opened just 100 years after its original opening. It was derelict for quite some time. Lamana Development was involved in the rebirth of that hotel and brought it back to being obviously the best hotel in Suva. It is the Lady of the Pacific, and yes, #1 on TripAdvisor. In Samoa, by far, this has been open 2 years, by far the best resort in Samoa, and it's going exceedingly well, and everybody's very happy with that hotel. And of course, back home in Port Moresby, Costas' original hotel on his own is Lamana Hotel, which I'm sure is well known to most, and if it's not, it should be. Obviously the best entertainment in Papua New Guinea, a whole range of food outlets, from Brazilian to Italian to Indian, and etc., etc. And of course, there's been mention already of... got to go back one. There's been mention already of Airways Hotel, which was Costas' first venture into the hospitality industry with his family. And I'm not quite sure how long ago, but about 35 years, and that hotel, of course, has advanced over all of those years and is a spectacular property. It's renowned, it's on the world stage, it has won many awards locally and internationally. It's where the rich and famous stay, so anybody that wins one of those 6 packages, good luck to you. It'll be very, very nice indeed. And now, for the reason that I'm here, is Loloata Island Resort, and I showed you those others for the credibility to say that there's been advances and improvements in the building of the hotels over the last 10 to 12 years, and Loloata will be the pinnacle, and it'll certainly be a very, very nice property when it opens. Loloata's not a new development. Loloata was originally opened as a dive resort by Dick Knight in 1977, and Dick ran that for about 39 years until NAS Fund and Costas bought him out, and then it's being redeveloped. It was specifically a dive resort, but it did run some small conferences and looked after some people coming off Kokoda. It has a unique place in the PNG dive industry and maybe in the world because it has spectacular diving and it's probably the world's best diving so close to a capital city. It's only 29 minutes from town and 15 minutes on the ferry and you're there. Oh, by the way, I should have acknowledged NAS Fund also in Heritage Park Hotel, major shareholders, also in Grand Pacific. They were involved there from the outset and have provided some funds to the Thomasina one, and of course NAS Fund is involved in this one now. The new resort will be much larger than Dick's Resort. There's 66 accommodation units. Some have multiple rooms, so we'll be able to sleep quite a few people. We have conference facilities, restaurants, cafe, bars. There's obviously the dive and the water sport pavilion and swimming pool, and we've got our ferry to bring people across. So it'll be very well set up and very comfortable for anybody who wishes to come to visit. Where do I point this? Oh, there we go. And in terms of who will come to visit, we're looking at a diversified market and we're looking to the future. Obviously, we will get back into the dive business, and already there was a dive conference in PNG a couple of months ago, actually. But the Japanese will be big, and they were big before, and we see them coming again. There's an emerging market out of China. Europe likes us, and out of North America. So we see that as well as Australia, of course. But the conferences is big for us, and we've got those nice those conference rooms there. People will come for weekend escapes, and I'm sure many people would like to pop out of Port Moresby, or some of them come down from the Highlands or wherever. We'll do weddings and we'll do honeymoons, and we will tie in with the bigger PNG tourism picture with people coming off Kokoda and those that are coming from abroad to go to the cultural fairs that happen around the country. But even because we're so close to town, 15 minutes on the ferry to our terminal and then the drive into town from there, people could actually stay there on a business trip if they so desired, and it's quite a different place to stay. I guess it's like going from Brisbane to the Gold Coast. It's a different environment. So we will be welcoming all of those people. In terms of our diving, we'll be offering training as well as for experienced divers. Obviously, we'll have all the hire equipment, and we'll be offering a morning dive, 2 afternoon dives, and a night dive. I'm not a diver, but I'm told the night dives are pretty spectacular, and there's some fish down there that actually give off light, so people turn off their torches when they're sitting under the water. So that should be a great attraction. We'll have normal resort facilities as well for the people who aren't particularly into scuba diving. There's a great snorkelling nearby at Lion Island. Plus we'll have Hobie cats, kayaks, and paddle boards for a start. We'll take people for picnic lunches to nearby islands so they can have some solitude and feel the world is all their own. And we'll do sunset cruises and things like that. So a really nice experience. The rooms, I said, we have 66, and there's a range of types of rooms there. We have 20 waterfront executive rooms, and they actually sit down on the water, and the water comes in underneath. Anybody that knows Loloata knows that it goes up as a peak fairly quickly. So we have bungalows along the hillside, And in the main building, which was the building you saw in the main photo, it's quite a large building with conference rooms and restaurants, etc. It'll also have some hotel rooms in there. And one thing that I guess is the same for all of those rooms is that they all will have spectacular water views, so a lovely place to stay. They're quite spacious. Most will have king-size beds, so very comfortable. In terms of the dining facilities, we have, as I said, a fine dining restaurant and a cafe. We have a buffet there, so we'll be catering for people's needs as we have people there. Obviously, conference people, they have buffets. A lot of the dive people like to have a buffet, and buffet's pretty normal for breakfast. So we'll spread across and do all of that. We've got 2 bars as well, one by the pool and one upstairs. The meeting rooms, go ahead. The meeting rooms, as a main room, the conference room will take 250 people. It can be divided up into 3, so we can offer multiple conferences at the same time, or more intimate spaces for smaller workshops and alike. So what you'd expect. Getting there, and this is one of the benefits of Loloata, I guess, in terms of the other dive resorts in Papua New Guinea, and in fact, I guess Loloata is probably the only island resort that I'm aware of in Papua New Guinea. Depends on the size of the island, I guess. But will be very convenient for international travellers. They only have to fly into Jackson, hop on our transporter, down to our terminal, which is less than half an hour away, then 15 minutes on the ferry, and there they are in the middle of the blue Bootless Bay, and right on the doorstep of the dive sites. Whereas to go somewhere else, they have to transfer across to a domestic flight and fly on. And many international tourists, particularly from Asia, don't have the luxury of a lot of time. So we see a benefit there. We think Japan will be our biggest dive market. I included this one because I guess people in Port Moresby may not know unless they're divers, but there's 29 dive sites so close to Loloata. It's quite unbelievable. And there's all sorts of dives there. People who are into diving, some like different sorts of dives. And at Bootless Bay, we've got wreck dives, we've got reefs, we've got drop-offs, we've got drifts, we've got shelves and walls, etc. So no matter what people are into and they're diving, or what the weather is, and the swell, will be able to offer some good diving every day. 15 minutes offshore, I've been saying it, that it doesn't make life any easier in terms of logistics. It may as well be an hour or 2 hours offshore. The construction people first up had to buy a barge. You can see there bales, all the sand and gravel, concrete, all of the vehicles, metal, cladding, furniture, you name it. Every screw and tack had to go across to Loloata on that barge, and often it's a big barge, and often the tides wouldn't allow it, so there was much done in the night for it all to occur, and thankfully things are going okay there for that. But it does make a difference, and even after the construction's finished, we, as the hotel operators, will then face our own logistic problems as well, because we have to take across all our food and all our beverage, yes, our guests, yes, our staff, 1,500 litres of diesel a day, etc. And the island is fully self-contained. The diesel runs 3 big gensets, so we're self-contained with power. We've got desal plants to give the water, and we have our own water treatment plants, so whatever we put back into the environment is virtually as close to drinkable, if it's not drinkable, as you can get. So there's no deterioration of the environment from that island being there and having 100 odd people staying there every night, and maybe on the weekends 200 with day travellers and trippers coming over. So that's getting stuff there, but then we have to bring our rubbish back, so that all has to come off of the island as well. Grease traps have to be cleaned, etc., etc. So logistics is going to have quite a big impact, even though we can see the mainland. And that just about concludes what I came to talk about. The opening date, this slide says January 2019, probably February or March is where it's headed, but that's a work in progress. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure to introduce Loloata Island Resort to you, and we look forward to welcoming you there sometime as guests. Thanks indeed.